Welcome to episode 5 of The Spill on Women's Health Plus. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today's episode will be about miscarriages, and in part 1, we will be speaking to a woman who has gone through the experience of having a miscarriage. This show is sponsored by Nature's Discount Dominica, and we thank Nature's Discount so much for their support. Welcome to episode 5 of The Spill, and today we're going to be taking on a very, very important topic I am sure that so many women will relate to. We're going to be talking about miscarriages, and in today's episode I am joined by Shamini, who is a close friend of mine and who has agreed to be interviewed about her experience with having a miscarriage. So, Shamini, good day and welcome to The Spill.
Thank you, Trudy.
Of course, The Spill is where we discuss women's health issues, and it is a nice open forum for women to discuss things that are really very pertinent to a lot of women, but which maybe are not discussed, out in the open. So we have this opportunity to discuss your experience today. I want you to tell me a little background. First of all, how did you find out you were pregnant? What was that like for you?
Well, my husband and I had just, that was in 2018, we had just come from our wedding in Barbados that August. I think December, that was in December I found out that I was pregnant, but December was a strange month for me. I was having a few issues with anxiety, and I think by the time I realized that I had missed my period, and my cycle is very, very regular. So 26 days, so by the time it was like 30 days, I'm like, something's up. So in fact, we were actually scheduled to do some tests because we had been trying for a little while without success. So that day, actually, he was supposed to do a test because I had already done my part. And I bought the pregnancy test that day, went in the bathroom at work, checked it, and I saw 2 lines. And I had done pregnancy tests before, and it had always been 1 line, negative. So when I saw 2 lines, I called a coworker because I wanted somebody else to confirm, like, this is real. So she's like, yeah, that's it, you're pregnant. So I called my husband because I knew he had an appointment to La Falaise to do his test. So I said to him, hey, babe, listen, before you go, can you come and check me at work? I have something to tell you. And then when he came, I showed him the test. He was he was really shocked. He was like, is it real? I'm like, yeah. That's real. So it was a really exciting moment for us, however short-lived it was, but it was, that's what I found out at work.
And in that moment, I mean, you all had been trying and having some difficulty, and you got that news. What, apart from excitement, were there any fears at that point or expectations? How did you all feel? How did you feel?
Well, he was way excited. I was excited, but I was a bit, I didn't want to be too excited because I was a bit nervous about it. I mean, I have a son from a previous relationship. He'll be 15 this year. And this was my first time being pregnant at the time, in 12 years. So, and we had been trying before without success. I'm like, oh gosh, I don't want to get too excited and then something happens. So I think I kind of put a little bit of a damp on it for myself. because I didn't want to be too disappointed if anything happened. I don't know, in the back of my mind, I may have just felt like, let's see, because I have a history of fibroids. Yeah, so
Okay.
I think that made me a bit nervous.
Okay. So, and that's another issue that so many women deal with and that we've spoken about previously on the spill, fibroids and, what occurs when women have fibroids. So you had those worries already.
Yeah, definitely. When we were trying and we were not successful, one of the issues that came up with my doctor that it may be the fibroids. So when we did find out, I mean, that was really exciting for us. I'm like, okay, well, this can happen. This is a thing. Let's see how it goes. But in the back of my mind, I had this nagging little thought that let's see how those fibroids deal with that.
So we're transitioning from, okay, this has happened. The test is positive. There's excitement, but at the same time, there is some, fear from you and some kind of uncertainty. Take us to when the miscarriage happened. How far along were you, and how did it occur? How did you realize that you had miscarried?
Yeah, so when we found out, I immediately got a pregnancy app on my phone. So I was tracking your baby's the size of a pea and this, and, so I was really excited. I think it was my 8th-week visit. That was the time I was told, okay, it's the visit to check see if there's a heartbeat. We went into the office and I remember the doctor saying to me, what do you want? You want a boy or a girl? And I said, Doc, I just want to hear a heartbeat. And he's like, of course there'll be a heartbeat. Like, he was so, and I remember my husband saying to me something like, maybe kind of like, why are you being a little so pessimistic, like boy or girl? So I was on the examination table, the doctor was, checking me, and then he just got quiet. All the excitement that he had before, boy or girl, he suddenly got quiet, and then he said, have you been having any bleeding? I said, no. Then he didn't say anything. And then I said, doctor, is something wrong? He's like, well, I'm seeing some bleeding. Sure you haven't had any bleeding? I said, no. And then he's trying to detect some sort of heartbeat, and nothing. So there was no heartbeat. And then also that was my 8th week. But he said what he was measuring was at 6 weeks. So apparently the baby stopped growing at 6 weeks. So that was very tough, and that was very disappointing because my husband was so excited, and I told him, babe, nobody says they're pregnant and nobody goes telling people until 3 months of adulthood, and he had already told his mother, he had already told his brothers, he had told everybody. He was just so excited. And then his excitement rubbed off on me, so I told a few people. So I think at that time, I thought, it's like, how am I going to now tell everybody that this is not a thing anymore? I think that was one of my thoughts. And then just the disappointment I saw. Mostly for him, I felt for him, because this would be his first child, and we were so really excited about it. And yeah, that was tough. That was tough hearing that.
So right there on the examination table, what did the doctor then recommend that you had to do? What was the process when he realized there was no heartbeat?
Well, he also mentioned the number of fibroids that he could see. He's like, they're like a bunch of grapes. He's like, here's one here, and then he just kept saying, here's here. And then he said, okay, so you need to go to your doctor. And so I called my doctor, and she told me, well, let's wait and see if you start to bleed. But if not, then we're going to, give you something to help pass, everything. So we did like probably a day or two, the weekend, and nothing. So then she said, okay, well, she gave me some medication, and yeah.
So with that, I will call it devastating news, because I can feel, it must have been devastating both to you, and your husband, who was so excited. How did you cope with that? So thereafter, what did you do to cope with that loss that you had experienced?
Well, the experience itself was so much more traumatic because one, it wasn't a situation where I started bleeding at home and lost the baby like that. Imagine being told by a doctor that your baby is no longer growing, you're miscarrying, but you then have to be helped to pass, and the medication that I was given, it made that process very painful. In fact, I was hospitalized for 2 days until I passed everything, and then I was allowed to go home. And when I went home, I then had another issue. When I thought, okay, everything is over, I'm over this, let me now try and cope with that situation. I was then hit with pain, maybe just as intense as as having a miscarriage. And I had to be hospitalized for that. And I was told, a scan revealed that I had a fibroid was degenerating.
Ah, okay.
And that was really, really painful. So dealing with that, plus knowing that I had the fibroid story, I think in terms of coping, it was tough. I turned to prayer. I remember that song, the day I passed everything out at the hospital. I remember I was playing that song on my phone, He's Able. And I think a lot of just prayer and so on is what really kept me. But my focus from then on was, okay, listen, this happened and I need to get rid of the fibroids. Okay. So that was then I went into, let's get this organized to how are we going to get this surgery done, because this is something I waited for so long, and now I got so excited about it. We got so excited about it, and it was kind of almost like snatched from us. Mm-hmm. So I didn't want to get pregnant again, and then have to deal with the same thing happening because of the fibroids.
Okay, so you spoke to your doctor about removing the fibroids. Yes. What was the response?
So I found out I was pregnant in December. I had the miscarriage in February, and then we planned for surgery in June. So I had a myomectomy June 26, I think, 2019. Okay. So my doctor said, listen, if you want to have a baby, and these fibroids, most likely that might have been the cause of your miscarriage, especially after having lost the baby, we had the fibroid degeneration. Okay. So I had surgery in June 2019 and they removed 9 fibroids.
Okay. So then where has your mind been since then in terms of trying again, or is your mind there trying again, trying to get pregnant again? What are you thinking, and what is your husband thinking too, where that's concerned?
Well, that's the tough part, because we've been trying since, you had to give it a year after the myomectomy to make sure the uterus is properly healed, and you don't want to get pregnant while your uterus is still healing and basically, endanger or cut the chances of survival even shorter. So we started trying once I was able to, but so far, no success. So it can be very stressful, depressing. Sometimes, you just act like, here's my period again, who cares? But honestly, if I have to be honest, it is devastating every time that another menstrual cycle comes along and nothing. So we are actively trying still, but so far nothing. I think he may be, I don't know, men probably cope differently from us. He says he's okay, when it happens, it happens.
But then, this is the spill on women's health. And ladies, we know we have that clock, that biological clock. We have a time span in which, we are able to naturally have children. So that time is always, on our minds. And it's something that maybe men don't think about as often because, they don't have that same cutoff point that we do. So is that something that you are concerned about? Getting older and it's not happening, how is that factoring in?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the biggest thing for me. I just had a birthday, so I'm 37, and 35. I've always said, I said, you know what, if by 35 I don't have my child, that's it, I'm done. But obviously, I want to try as much as I can until I can no longer can try. But at the same time, I'm like, who wants to be running after little ones 40? At 40, I have a 15-year-old this year. Right. And then to go back to Pampers, diapers, and preschool and daycare. But it's something that I really want, and it's something that we're really trying, to make happen. But that clock is really ticking, and that's a big thing for me. It's a big thing on my mind.
Yeah, I know. What you just expressed about, having to parent a young child, at the age of 40. I know that is something that is shared a lot in memes, and people say, "Oh well, I had my kids early, so now I can lay back and relax."
Yeah, I definitely I'm with them on that one.
So I know a lot of women share that sentiment, but there are some of us, me included, approaching that late 40s range and still willing to give it a try.
Yeah, definitely.
So people are different. It can happen at different times for different people. What about medically? The fibroids were removed, okay, and you feel like that was the real cause behind the miscarriage?
I feel that was the real cause, but I mean, when you had the surgery and you had those fibroids removed, and it's been a year and a half since you're trying and still nothing, then it leaves you to wonder, okay, well, were the fibroids really the issue? Is there something else? Right. So that now is what I am actively pursuing, like doing research, just trying to figure out like what's going on. I've even been looking into PCOS because from what I've read, not everybody who has PCOS experiences absent or very long span between the periods. Especially with me and having adult acne and having always had acne, and I get flare-ups, especially when I'm ovulating, when it's my period. So I'm trying to kind of put the dots, connect the dots and figure out like what's going on.
Yeah, because I really wanted to know what other concerns you had medically. So you're thinking now, what other issues might be present. Has your doctor, what is your doctor's view?
Well, she actually prescribed Clomid.
Okay.
I can't say I've taken it yet. She has me chill. But so I'm not sure why I haven't tried it, because I think it's because I feel that I'm ovulating. When it's at time of the month, I actually feel the little ovulation pain that you're supposed to feel. I have all those mood changes, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I actually am producing an egg. But I'm due for a scan next week. To just check on, since the surgery, have any of the fibroids grown back, what's going on there. So that's what she actually recommended. Let's see what's going on right now and see what might be causing, the issue.
Right, so do some investigation and maybe give you a clearer picture, medically what could be the issue.
Because I definitely I need to know, what's going on.
Yeah, so knowing is important. I know for me, the more I know, the better. I mean, I know some people like to kind of shy away from knowing about
I want to know.
Medical issues.
I want to know, please.
Okay, so you and I are on the same page. If that is better to know.
Better to know.
It's better to know. Okay, and the last thing I will ask you, Shamini, is there anything maybe after your experience with having that miscarriage, anything that you wish that you as a woman had known, or anything that you felt and you wondered, had anybody else felt that way, or you were kind of unsure about certain things? Was there anything that stood out?
Actually, yes. During that time, so I told you that December I was having very bad anxiety because I suffer from anxiety. So during the month of December, I was having panic attacks like every day. And I had been prescribed...
it's an anti-anxiety
yes, something? Just can't remember the name right now.
Okay.
Xanax.
Okay.
That's it. And so I took that before I found out I was pregnant. So there's always that thing in my mind, like, and could have been the Xanax I took, might that have been, the issue. Also, my stress levels were really, really high during that time. My son at the time was 12, and that early getting into teenager. Yeah, I was at him a lot for a number of things. and just dealing with the anxiety and the panic attacks, I think my stress levels were very high, and also being nervous about the pregnancy. So that is something that still lingers in my mind. Like, could I have been to blame in some way? Was it something I ate? Did I overexert myself in some ways? And I think that's something a lot of women maybe, think about when they have a miscarriage. Could I have been to blame in some way? Is there something I could have done or not done? So that is something that I think about.
Okay. And I said it was the last question, but I have one more. Do you think if there was some kind of support mechanism, support group, something like that, that you would have maybe leaned on that resource at that time when you went through your miscarriage?
Definitely. I'm the type of person that if something happens to me, I have to talk about it. And talking about it helps, besides praying which really, really, really helps. Because I did say, if this is meant to be, it will be. And if it didn't happen like that, that was not God's will for my life at this point in time. And even now, with trying again, I say that, it's God's will. If it has to happen, it will happen. But I had a friend who had a similar experience. She miscarried the year before. So she and I would talk about it, and that was kind of who I leaned on during that time.
Okay. So you had somebody who you could relate to and confide in and share experiences with.
And even talking about it, like at work, the number of people who would tell me they had a similar experience, people who I didn't even know, and I work with them, and they just kind of kept it hush hush. And you do have to wonder, like, why, besides just probably being private, is there something else that's preventing people from coming out and speaking about these things? Is it embarrassment? I think about that as well.
Sometimes too, women, and not just with this topic that we're dealing with today, miscarriages, but with medical issues, reproductive health issues, women tend to feel some sort of almost shame or they feel like they don't have anybody that can relate to what they're going through. And that is so often not true. So there are women out there who have experienced similar things, and a lot of times you are not alone.
Definitely.
I think you are never alone, when it comes to women's health and issues surrounding women's health. So many people experience, some of the same things. So Shamini, I am so happy that you took the time to talk to me today and to share your story with the viewers of The Spill. It's something, as I just said, that some people maybe feel like they are the only people, or it's not that common, and they don't feel that their story is worth sharing. But you have shown us here today that it is. And I am sure you've been some type of comfort to somebody who maybe went through something similar.
Definitely. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you for viewing episode 5 of The Spill. If you liked this episode, and I know you did, please share it so that your friends can get a chance to look at it too. Thank you so much to our guests who agreed to be on The Spill, and thank you so much to our sponsor, Nature's Discount Dominica, for supporting this show. Remember, follow, like, share Women's Health Plus.